Nerd is the new sexy.
Well, everyone on the internet lands, and I would like to introduce you to the new podcast that we're starting called Nerd is the New Sexy. I'm your host, Wyldfyre1, and I'm here with...
Yeah, co-host Sunrie.
We're here to introduce you to all things nerddom.
Yeah, and there will be a lot of nerd stuff. I mean, you got two nerds just kind of hosting it anyway. So, I mean, we're off to a good start here.
Yeah, it's by nerds, for nerds, from nerds, to nerds, about nerds.
I think that pretty much covers it.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems to do it pretty good right there.
So let's rewind here. Let's go back in time. I want to talk about I want to talk about how the nerd trend started. How, well, not necessarily started, but evolved.
Yeah, pretty much what nerds were to what nerds are now.
Yeah. Well, let's go all the way back to 1985, whenever the Revenge of the Nerds movies came out. There was a lot of Poindexter-esque characters in movies back then, and of course they were portrayed as everything unsexy at the time.
Yeah.
The big glasses, the short guys that were smart. The people who are pretty much running big corporations nowadays. It's like the fat kid from
Stand By Me mixed with Steve Urkel. That was like the nerd at the time.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
which of course he did grow up to start banging. What's her name though? So.
Who do you... that's going to bother me. Who do you have...
Yeah, it's going to bother me now.
Well, anyway, back to the point. We of course...
Rebecca Romaine, yes.
Oh.
Jerry O'Connell.
Oh. But we're talking about, the 80s, back when... the time when nerds were outcasts. No one cared about them. What's anime? What's all this other stuff? But of course that's before that. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah. Back before we knew Voltron was an anime.
Yeah, But back when people chased nerds around and hated them with a passion, nerds, that kind of thing. And
we're not talking about looking at the 1980s and the cool kids who were actually were nerds by today's standard, with the stupid, rat tail mullet with one pant leg pulled up with the neon jacket, doing the little backwards hand jive in the hallway of their high school with big Vanilla Ice hair.
Yeah.
Nerds! Those were the cool kids, but they were fucking nerds.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I guess maybe by today's standards too.
Yeah.
But let's rewind back to those times. What made a nerd so unappealing? What in your opinion, Sunrie, what made a nerd so unappealing at that time?
Well, at that time, they were greasy, pimply, had a really annoying voices.
Yeah. Annoying laugh. They were in the media at the time. They were made to be laughable. They were made to be Poindexters. Am I right?
Pretty much as annoying as possible, as socially awkward as possible.
Yes.
Just the outcast of society that everyone should feel sorry for because they're always getting beat up. They can't fit in even though they want to, but they kind of don't even want to fit in at the same time because, oh no, you're so cool just the way you are. Really? Because 15 minutes ago you were helping the jock kick my face into the toilet type person.
Exactly. So they've been outcast, and it's funny that you use that word because it's the perfect word for it. Now, outcast, another good example of something that was outcasted, something a lot of nerds nowadays love, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, and look, I do love my Dungeons and Dragons, and we'll get into the story about me and all that at the time, but even in elementary and junior high, I thought Dungeons and Dragons, because I didn't really know a lot about it, was for fucking Melvins. And just, why the hell would you do that? God, that's so stupid.
Yeah.
Because at the time, even at the time in junior high school, just the type of people who were playing it, I'm listening to the stories. Now, in their defense, I just didn't realize they were shitty storytellers and GMs. So,
okay, well, we'll save the D&D stories for later, because I first found D&D when I was like 12, but we'll get to that. So we've got people who play D&D, people who play stuff like that, and they're all outcasts because all this stuff at this time is something that is basically socially rejectable.
Yeah,
because of media.
Right. I mean, this is the time when they were preaching how the Dungeons and Dragons was released by cults of the devil and all this other bullshit. And
exactly, and it's funny that So let's go a little forward. Back to up to our high school days. D&D and stuff like that was a little more. It wasn't
not a whole lot.
It wasn't,
but a little.
I'm using the quotation hands here. Yeah. It wasn't cool.
Yeah, because that translates well over radio and iPods. Yeah. Facial expressions and hand gestures.
Well, you know what? That's why I mentioned I was using them. Either way, it's not cool, quote unquote, I guess.
But it was more commonplace. We were noticing.
It was more commonplace. You'd see more of that with people, But then again, you could still go up to people and go, "Oh, I play Final Fantasy," and other people would be like, "What's that game? That's stupid."
Yeah.
Especially in high school at our time, and that was what, the 90s.
That was the 90s, and this Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z were coming out at 5 o'clock in the morning because it wasn't a mainstream thing.
Only anime you could watch. Closest thing to anime.
Yeah, this was before Adult Swim. This was before we were getting Toonami. And being we have the Yu Yu Hakusho and all the freaking cool stuff that was coming out, and there were people around this time that I was starting to know, and when I was talking about Dragon Ball Z, that they thought they were so cool because you watch that, you need to watch this one because no one in America knows about it. That's not a real anime.
Oh, yeah.
It's not
translated.
Subtitled.
It's translated.
It's translated. It's not a real anime. And it's like, shut the fuck up.
You'll still people like that.
Then there are, yeah. You have to watch Vampire Hunter D. That's a real anime. And see, and I'm okay. Now I'm doing the making fun of the nerd thing, which is what we were just talking about by using the nerd thing.
Yeah. Yeah. You just double stereotyped us.
Hey, look, I'm one of the first ones to say I'm a nerd. I was at the Sprint store and I saw a BB-8 Bluetooth controlled robot, and I was geeking the fuck out in front of the guys at Sprint. So I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
I'm a grown ass man.
Don't get us wrong. We're both extreme nerds. I'm proud to be what I am. I've grown into what I am, and I'm happy to be a fucking nerd. I'll be the first to be like, yeah, But anyway, as we were talking about the whole DBZ thing, in games and such, and people at that time were still kind of rejecting the nerddom that is. I think that, in my opinion, that nerds' acceptability came about around the time, or maybe even before that, a little before the time the first Lord of the Rings movie came out. What do you think? Am I wrong?
No, I would say that is when we started seeing it as more of a mainstream thing.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, but honestly, when I really started to see it start to come out a lot was around the time that the original Diablo was becoming popular. All of a sudden, all these people who I never thought were playing games were talking about this game Diablo. So I got Diablo, and my God, it was good.
Yeah. You're talking about the original?
Yeah, the original.
Okay, we were in high school at that time, because you got me turned on to that game.
Right. It was that one, and it was also around the time that the PlayStation came out, and Final Fantasy VII hit. Now, all of a sudden, people who are buying this game console are buying an RPG for the first time.
Yeah,
and oh my god, this is awesome. And now, all of a sudden, dialogues start opening up with people who would never talk about it before.
I agree. We've had some interesting people come up to us in high school and talk to us. Now, when we were in high school, we had a group that we would just sit around and talk about role-playing games and anime and stuff like that, because that's what we did. We I mean, if you think about it, we're almost like the group at the office that would sit around the water cooler talking about whatever. Well, that's what we did. We enjoyed that stuff, and we enjoyed talking about it. And of course, you'd always have the occasional guy that would walk up and go, "Hey guys, I got the Game Informer. I never played the game for myself. I'm a tool." that kind of guy. But
oh, I don't know why it was so hard to beat that boss. I bought the he was using strategy guides. Get out of my face.
Yeah, exactly. So we had the occasional that, but I agree, but I disagree at the same time. It was still a little more to the point where people were coming out a little more about what they like, but it was still taboo to be a nerd.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. No. I'll agree with that. Now, it wasn't until around the time that Lord of the Rings, that the first one came out, that people started saying, "Oh, I'm a nerd." It's like, okay, just because you enjoyed the movie and went out and bought the book afterwards doesn't mean you're a fucking nerd.
Yeah. And that's what we're seeing a lot of nowadays. By the way, a lot of people are just jumping on the bandwagon, which I might sound like an elitist to some people when I say this, but I think it's really lame for people just to, like, if something's cool. It's almost like the way I attribute to in my mind, and Sunrie, you might agree with me on this, is if there's a football team and you love this football team, but they all of a sudden suck, and another football team got popular, and you jump to that, and I'm sure you football fans can agree, and you jump to that football team. Does that make you loyal? Does that make it right? No. You're doing it because it's a bandwagon thing to do.
It's just like, just because you watch Spirited Away does not make you an anime fan.
No, it's a good anime.
Because I hate it.
It's more mainstream. You hate it.
Okay, no, I don't hate. Okay, look, before you people sneak into my goddamn house and put angry cobras in my fucking bed, I do like Hideo Miyazaki. I really do. I'm glad he did need to retire.
Yeah,
he did. But his animation quality and everything that he had to work with was good. Most of his stuff was entertaining, if not confusing. But I would say he was almost like the Quentin Tarantino for anime, where it's like, is this guy serious? I mean, I like it, but
I liked Spirited Away, but it wasn't.
It's not the end all be all.
Yeah, it didn't live up to everything we've come to expect from him.
Right.
It was good, but it wasn't. Yeah. I just had a buttgasm good.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just, you being a nerd is kind of a lifestyle. It's not a, I do this and this, therefore I'm a nerd. If you play Call of Duty, you're not a gamer. You play Call of Duty.
We know people who will disagree with us.
I know, and like I said, you can go ahead and try to put angry cobras in my bed. I've got two ferocious little chihuahuas.
Well, I will say this, and I will agree with
and a pug
with the certain person I'm speaking of. They say that, like, I had this conversation. We had this conversation the other day with another person, and that person said that those people are bro gamers, and I love that term so much. For that. They are bro gamers because that's exactly what they are. I'm off work, dude. I'm gonna play with my bros. We're gonna kill some people. I'm gonna knife a bunch of people on Call of Duty, and that's that's what you expect. And
man, Mads come out.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was my beer can.
And exactly, And of course, don't get me wrong, I love my first-person shooters too, but they are bro games. But if that's the only thing and then you get some of these people who are like, I play games on my phone. I know all there is to know about video games. Have you played Legend of Zelda? Legend of what?
Yeah, what? Or that chick who posted up a picture of her dressed as Link and said, "What if Zelda was a chick?" So, but hey, okay. Now before, and to kind of cement the nerd cred here, Wild, go ahead and explain why you would definitely classify yourself as a nerd. Kind of like what started you on the path to nerddom. Well, and not just I was born with glasses.
Just like, just like, if I'm going to classify a nerd, it's a knowledge of all things. Not all things. We can't say all things nerdy, but most things nerdy. Okay. I grew up with my dad was a huge fan of the original Star Trek, so I grew up watching the Star Treks. I grew up, the original Star Treks, and of course, the Next Generation when it came out, and then the other shit episode shows came out, and I just kind of ignored those. I'm actually, for the shits and giggles, just catching up on those for right now, with the exception of Enterprise that I already watched because it's interesting compared to the other ones.
Yeah, well, what I call those other ones are episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's a good example of those. But I grew up with. I was a big Batman fan, starting with the Batman '66. With Adam West. Pow, bang. I love that. And then I kind of grew out of Batman into my preteen years, and then I watched the Batman, Michael Keaton Batman in '89 I think it came out.
I something like that.
Yeah, so my dad and I watched that, and it was like that movie has a special place in my heart because I went with my dad to watch it, and because of that, I am a super huge Batman fan, and not just I love the Dark Knight series, and I love not necessarily what they're doing to Batman now, but we won't get into that right now. But I do love the animated series. Frickin' Mark Hamill is the Joker, in my opinion, when it comes to anyone voicing the Joker. So my opinion of someone who's nerdy is not just knowledgeable in one thing, but knowledgeable in a lot of things that are nerdy. You could ask me certain things about Star Trek. I can tell you what a batach means. It's
Kapla.
Yeah, whatever. I feel bad if I said that wrong. I feel so stupid.
Oh, the patach.
Patach, yeah. So I did say it right. Okay, I feel better.
I don't know. I think that's as close to that because I don't actually speak Klingon.
Neither do I, but I do.
I know patach and kapla.
Kapla.
Oh, and claw.
Oh, yeah.
Because I wouldn't mind trying a made up dish of that because I know they serve it at Star Trek conventions.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it looks good too. What was that Klingon blood pie or whatever?
Yeah, it's like the bloodworm or something like that. Yeah.
See,
I'm not a huge Star Trek nerd, but I know of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Same thing with Star Wars.
Well, you and I can actually sit here and talk about like certain things on Star Trek.
Yeah.
And I'm not.
Just don't be a Zaul.
Yeah, I'm not either or for Star Trek or Star Wars. I'm an equal fan of both. Some people are like, "Oh my God, you're Star Wars! I'm gonna pull out or you're Star Trek! I'm gonna pull out my lightsaber. We're going to war." No, I think that both of them are good, except for the last three movies. When I say the last three movies, I mean 1, 2, and 3. They don't exist.
Yeah,
they don't exist. We'll get into that another time. So, to simplify this, I grew up loving games. I grew up loving video games, role-playing games. I was heavily into writing growing up. If you think about it, just about anything that was really taboo growing up as far as what makes a nerd was what I was into. And that's pretty much if there's a backstory, that would be it for me, a quick one. So let's get into your backstory, Sunrie.
All right. So I was birthed on the battlefields of Saturn in this hot, molten Mercury. But no, actually, I can't claim to have been a nerd that long. I didn't realize that I was really kind of into the nerd stuff really until my junior high. That's when it kind of started for me. Growing up, I didn't have a lot of video games and things like that. It wasn't until junior high when the SNES and stuff like that came out that I actually had a gaming system. I had an Atari 2600 before that, and I liked the games, but it's a 2600.
Now, did I introduce you to Final Fantasy II?
Yeah, you did. Now in junior high, I liked side scroll and beat 'em ups and fighting games like Street Fighter 2, stuff like that. Never really got into the whole first-person shooter thing at first. It wasn't until I got my first computer, which at the time was one of the fastest computers available. It was a Pentium 2 75 megahertz.
22-something modem.
It had a 36K baud modem initially until we upgraded it to a 56.6. Yeah. It was around that time when because the internet started getting popular. And I actually met Wyldfyre. Now, here's the funny thing. I know I say that I didn't notice. I really think that was the whole nerd type thing, because even when I was living in California, when I was in junior high before I moved up next to Wyld, I was in community theater, like musicals like The Wiz, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Peter Pan, the Butcher of Bakersfield, stuff like that. And I got into that because the neighbors across the street, and it was a lot of fun. Met a lot of cool people, and I'm thinking, how much nerdier can you be?
Yeah,
well, you can be a lot more nerdy.
I was a drama nerd too, but I think you introduced me into that. So
yeah, and then I get to high school. First play that first thing that we ended up doing in high school was a haunted house.
I'm glad you remembered that.
Yeah, that's actually where I met Wild initially. He was doing more of like the setting up props and stuff like that. I was an actor. I was the mad scientist. I had my buddy doll that I was quote unquote experimenting on. And
well, they made me an actor later on. Remember?
Yeah, because because you were so good at it.
Now
we were in the same drama class.
I got to play a corpse.
Yep. Well, then we did South Pacific.
Yep.
And that's when we started talking a lot. Me, you, Chronister, and a bunch of other people. Yeah. That's when you and I actually started hanging out. That's around the time that Wild was introducing me to like Final Fantasy II, which turns out to be Final Fantasy IV.
Yeah.
But Final Fantasy II US, let's put it that way. Started introducing me to role-playing games. Got into Illusion of Gaia, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy III, which is actually Final Fantasy VI. But that's all thing for the other time. Now I had been playing like Legend of Zelda, and that's when he introduced me to Duke Nukem 3D.
We had so much fun doing that.
Fuck, that was fun. And then we started talking to other people who were like, oh yeah, I like this, that, and the other. And we started realizing, hey, these people have the same interests as us, and they were playing D&D.
And hacky sack.
And hacky sack. Oh, yeah. I was voted best hacky sacker at the school for like almost every year that we were there, which is really funny. And yet I didn't smoke pot. I figured that one out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of when I started realizing that, you know what, I'm kind of into this whole nerd thing. I was kind of playing the piano. Not to say that people play the piano are nerds. I'm just saying this is just kind of all things.
No, that's a whole different class of nerd. That's a music nerd. They're horrible. I hate those people.
Yeah. I was on debate. I was in rhetoric. I was doing the drama class.
Storytelling.
Storytelling and stuff like that. Wild actually started me writing because he was writing first, and I didn't realize that I was actually a very good writer until I started trying to write. And he actually suggested, hey, look, go through, play these RPGs, rewrite the RPGs, and then find what the common thing is. And that's actually how I learned how to do better storytelling too. I've always kind of had the gift of gab, but I just wasn't really good at storytelling. I started getting into D&D because everybody that we were talking to wanted to play it. This is also around the time. Now, this is before Robot Chicken, and somewhere out there, because when I was in the Army, I know these videos still exist. Video cameras were getting cheaper. Now, they were still pretty big, and they still used tape. I know. What's tape?
Yeah. Make us feel old, why don't you?
But we had things like the Generation 1 He-Man action figures, the Ninja Turtles.
Yep.
I still have the metal hand-painted with the shootable head Voltron Force action figure that connects with a bunch of metal lions and probably weighs close to 5 pounds put together. Yep. That has lead-based paint in it still, because when they did the recall, we did not turn that shit in because we knew it was going to be worth a lot of money.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, I still have the keys for all but one of them, which I don't think I have.
You were missing the Black Dragon, weren't you?
Or no, that's it.
Yeah, it was the.
No, yeah, I'm missing the key. I'm missing the key for Keith.
Yeah.
But I've got all the other keys. I have Ghostbuster action figures, the Generation 1 Ghostbuster action figures. I had a proton pack. Like I said, I was always kind of nerdy, but didn't really realize it. Like, when we would go walks around the neighborhood, me and my friends and stuff like that with our parents, we would wear the Generation 1 Proton Packs toys that came out. We would take them to school. I mean, we were nerdy. We just didn't realize it kind of at the time.
Well, when you're a kid, you don't really specify nerdy. It's just like what you like. And then somewhere between adolescence and, that teenage angst area, you just lose it. Or some people are like, I'm not nerdy, I'm a jock, or I'm a whatever, I'm a this and that. And somewhere in
honestly, because even in high, like I said, when I got into junior high and people were playing, like, I don't know what game it was, but I know it was D&D based, or it was something like that, and it was more futuristic. It may have been Shadowrun. I don't know, but it was a pen and paper style RPG.
That was probably Shadowrun.
And I've never played Shadowrun, so I can't say for certain.
Or it might have been like a beta version of Shadowrun.
Yeah, I really don't know. But during lunch, these guys were kind of overplaying, but they weren't using the pen and paper. It was just basically the DM telling a story and them saying what they wanted to do and the DM making up what was happening based off of what they were saying they were doing. And I literally remember thinking, these guys are fucking nerds.
I used to think that about the guys that would play Magic. You remember, like?
Oh yeah, I can't play Magic, which is why I hate Magic.
I love the game.
Yeah, I did play Yu-Gi-Oh, and I did play second in a district. I got my ass kicked by a 12-year-old.
I played Yu-Gi-Oh too. Yu-Gi-Oh was fun, but Yu-Gi-Oh is basically essentially a dumbed-down version of Magic.
Kinda, yeah.
That's the best way I can explain it. But yeah. Go on with what you were saying, son.
Yeah, and so like I said, it wasn't until I got to high school and I was just kind of like, you know what? Yeah, I guess I am kind of nerdy. I don't give a shit. But what's funny is, like I said, with all that going on, you can't really judge how somebody's gonna grow up, because, and Wyld can back me up on this. While I was in high school, as part of the Police Explorer program, so I was going out on nightly patrols with the police department. I was joining the Army as military police. Mm-hmm. Been an EMT. I've trained with the firefighters. When I was in the Army, I was part of special assignments, which a bunch of stuff that I can't even talk about still.
He was a hooker in Guam.
Yeah, well, yeah. My hooker name was Soon Lee, and I was in South Korea.
Yeah, the only reason I know that is because my hooker name was like Shala Malaka.
Yeah. Now he was stationed in Moscow and disguised as a Kuwaiti refugee.
I was never in the military, so
yeah.
But I was just I was a hooker for shits and gigs.
Yeah. Yeah, I build my own computers. I go to the Renaissance Fair. I dress up when I go to the Renaissance Fair. I've tried to go to the... Yeah. People take pictures and I'll, act in character and stuff like that. I've tried to go to a few Comic-Cons and things like that. But, I've been, like I said, trained with the fire department, been an EMT. I've been a police officer. You can't judge what people have been doing or what they were like and say, oh, well, this person's this. It's like, oh, yeah, motherfucker? Yeah. Well, let me tell you what I am.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, is people are goofy. It's human nature to judge.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately. But, we're going off topic.
Well, kind of. That just kind of to cement our nerd cred. We are nerds. I dress up for the Renaissance Fair. I've made my wife dress up with me. Well, I shouldn't say made, because she's made her own costume.
You made her at gunpoint. Don't lie. You're like, you're going to do this.
No, that's how I got her to marry me.
Oh, that's right. I was there. I was the best man for that, by the way.
Yeah, you were. And if I ever post up pictures of the wedding, I actually am wearing my gun.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah.
But yeah, I own a plethora of swords.
Mm-hmm.
I have a huge sword collection. I have a collection of just everything that I love. Like I have little things that we're probably going to review in the future, in future episodes, that I own that I've gotten from certain places. And same with Sunrie. He's got stuff that he's ordered. Just all the geek tech,
geeky stuff.
Yeah, all the geek tech or nerd tech or whatever, how would I have you? But that's pretty much a little bit of our origin here. That's where we come from, our humble beginnings. Damn it. So let's fast forward in time to nowadays, where all of a sudden there's this boom, and all these nerds are out of everywhere. You got shows online like the angry video game nerd. You have shows like the Bat and the Sun shows that have what's that show called again? Superpower Beatdown.
Oh, Superpower Beatdown, yeah.
That's right, Superpower Beatdown. You have shows like that online. You have all these shows that just, and I'm not even talking just online. I'm talking let's talk mainstream.
What do you call it? Big Bang. I was about to say, yeah, Big Bang Theory is a big one.
And I mean, these are people like you and me, Sunrie, just talking. Yeah. We've had conversations like that.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot tell you the exact formula for the Drake equation, but I know what it is.
What's the Drake equation?
Okay, the Drake equation is what the likelihood of other life is within our galaxy.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so basically, you take what it is. It's the number of stars that have planets around them. Then it's the number of those planets or stars that have planets around them that would support life. Mm-hmm. Then how many of those would develop a society, develop an intelligent species, and then how many of them would also be seeking out to check the stars, stuff like that, and would be as advanced as us, and that would be the likelihood of other intelligent life within the galaxy that we would be able to detect and things like that. Wow. And every time we discover new planets and everything like that, that number can change because we really don't know how many of those are out there. So it's whatever number you want to plug in is right, maybe.
5!
Yeah.
But
well, then we would never detect other life.
Well, maybe there's some on the sun we don't know about.
Yeah. Yeah, like I know what the Heisenberg uncertainty principle is. And what it is. One of my favorite sayings is because fucking Colorado's got the most bipolar weather, that every time it's supposed to rain and doesn't, or when we don't know if it's saying it's not supposed to rain and does. I always say, "Goddamn you, Heisenberg, and your fucking uncertainty principle."
Well, and I'm in California, and we know how California is.
Yeah,
it's hell every year. Of course, El Nino is supposed to hit this year, thank God. So hopefully we'll get weather like we got in '95. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was freaking crazy.
Yeah, well, I remember I was in high school. I was walking out. One side of the school was completely sunny. I walked out the front side of the school. It was raining. I felt like I went through like a portal or into a different dimension. I was expecting everyone to have like a beard and mustache.
Yeah, and one day during all that, because the school started actually to flood because the pumps couldn't get everything out. Now in California, you mostly have outdoor high schools because California, and the weather doesn't normally get like this. We actually had a little tornado go through that was then classified as a water spout because there was so much damn water all over the roads that it actually became a legit water spout. Cars were floating down the street. It was freaking hilarious. We were driving down the street in a little Geo Metro.
That's right.
My mother's Geo Metro, hanging out the window, screaming, "Stroke! Stroke! Stroke! Honk! Honk!"
That was, yeah.
And the police couldn't come get us because they couldn't get into the water either.
The shit we got away with in high school.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's another episode altogether.
Yeah, that's a totally different thing. That would be more about us.
Yeah. But
however, I plead the fifth because I don't want any of this used as evidence.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
But like I said, we're fast forwarded to the future. We are to the present, and we have all these shows that are, all of a sudden it's mainstream to be nerd. You're freaking awesome, and so you got and this brings me to my point nowadays. We got everyone jumping on the nerd bandwagon. Now, again,
you got frat boy Joe cracking 16 beers with his jock buddies playing Halo, going, yeah, Halo's so much fun. Yeah, I went over the other day. Went over the Renaissance Fair. Yeah, I'm a fucking nerd. Woo!
Yep, exactly. Nerd. So check this out. I want to say this. This will be interesting. I want to say this, and this is probably going to piss some people off. There's going to be a bomb on my house tomorrow.
Good.
Halo, and it's those type of people that say Halo was the game that revolutionized first-person shooters.
Yeah, GoldenEye says hello.
Yes. Halo had nothing to do with first-person shooters. And some of you might argue, but you could drive cars. There was a game called Battlefield before that was out long before Halo.
The first Battlefield.
It had like area-based damage. There's a game long before that was just mentioned a second ago.
Yeah. Actually, the original Halo did not have area-specific damage. It was more like Doom. Just point and shoot. No matter where you hit it, it's going to do the same damage.
If there were any games at that time that actually did revolutionize first-person shooters, I would say Doom 3 was.
No, Doom 3 came out a lot later than that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I mean, in that I don't know what 2-year time span or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. No, what actually did though was the whole GoldenEye.
Yeah, GoldenEye was a huge
area specific damage. The way that the levels progressed, that actually did revolutionize it. It's because of that we have area specific damage nowadays, and with the multiplayer we do and everything else. Yeah.
Well, that game was before its time. It was beautiful.
Oh yeah. So, it did not age well.
No.
But yeah. But you guys can find that over on another podcast.
That's another podcast.
Yeah.
Yes. But like I said, you have the nerds that jump on the well, I use that term lightly with them, but jump on the bandwagon, and and like I said, it's almost like it's those type of people that are like, I want to be a part of the group. and again, this is where I probably sound like I'm an elitist, but I'm not. I was a part of that group back when the group was maybe like 25% of what it was, of what it is now. Maybe less than that.
Yeah, we were part of that group, and everybody was saying nerd, and it's still a super negative connotation.
Yeah, we were there. I remember this is a great example. I remember Sunrie and I were in the middle of a play, and we were talking. It was either the middle or the break between the play, and we were in the back, and him and I are talking about some anime, and someone looks at us like they don't know what the fuck we're talking about. And I remember this vividly. This is one of my big memories of high school.
Oh yeah,
I think it was Bye Bye Birdie.
I was gonna say I think it was Bye Bye Birdie because it was like the second one we were.
Yeah, we were
second musical.
We were sitting in the back and we were just bullshitting, and all of a sudden we're just talking our nerd stuff, and someone comes up and wants to like join the conversation, but we're talking. We might as well be talking like super Japanese because they're just looking at us like, what are they? And of course back then the term for anime was Japanimation or
Japanimation
or Japan animation.
Yeah.
Which eventually got dumbed down to what? Anime.
To anime, yeah.
So
yeah, but it was because I remember it started off as Japanese animation, then it became Japanimation, and then it was then it became Japanime, and then just anime.
It's just anime. So one day my name is Wyldfyre1. One day my name will be Wyldfyre1. The next day it'll be Wyldfyre. Then it'll just be Wild. Then be Wah.
Yeah. And
then just one.
Hey.
No, I think it's just going to come down to one, like the number one, instead of writing it out. So
be like Prince.
Yeah. I'm the artist formerly known as Wyldfyre1. So basically, they were talking to us about they were looking at us like we were talking super Japanese, and then I remember one of them another person joined. And they go like, "You guys are talking about that weird Japanime stuff, right?" And I look at Sunrise and I'm like, "Yeah." And Sunrise's like, "Yeah, that stuff's awesome. I never could get into that." Now let's picture that same situation today, in a mainstream situation where people grew up with Digimon and Pokemon and all these other anime. Mons. That's what I was trying. I was going to say that, but I'm glad you did. And that's another thing. Sunrise, we've known each other to the point where we finish each other's
sentences because Wyldfyre had a stroke, and apparently he can't finish his own sentence.
But it's just my point being is that today and then are two different times, but there's a lot to be said about how different yet the same they are.
Yeah, I mean, we're seriously, we're talking about like people who in the high school, like in that scenario, stuff like that. It's like, oh yeah, it was so dumb. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's stupid, and kind of go walking off. And recently, be like, hey man, so did you check out Resurrection F? Did you get it? Can I spoil something for you? Yeah, have you checked your Resurrection F is like the best shit from Dragon Ball ever. I mean, are you still into Dragon Ball? I mean, Dragon Ball's awesome. I mean, it's coming back with the hype. Did you know about the new show? And it's like, wait a minute. You're the motherfucker my senior year.
Yeah.
Who was like, Dragon Ball's the stupidest thing ever, and the Pokemon's nothing but for little kids, and you're a retard for ever liking it. And now all of a sudden you're telling me that if I haven't seen Resurrection F, I'm not a true Dragon Ball fan. I don't know anime.
Well, let's talk about that for a second.
So now we have these
all
fucking,
of the first,
what we were getting into with these nerd posers. You're not a real nerd. No, a nerd thing is a lifestyle. You are a nerd because you are a nerd. You are not a nerd because you do certain things. You're a nerd because that is what you are. You just automatically do things. You don't have to put thought into things. Like walking down the street and seeing an anime store, what we call an anime store. I don't know what anybody else calls it, a manga store or anything like that. But basically something that sells like Japanese tchotchki and stuff like that.
Nerd store.
Yeah, nerd store. Uh-oh, Sunrise sounding a little Jewish. Going into places like that. My wife's cracking up.
At least you're not tuned in.
Yeah. Going, places like that, and they've got gachapon sitting there, and you spend $4,
Yeah.
on Patchapon just to because they have it there. Trying to go to Comic-Con, going to BlizzCon, because you want to, not because it's a popular thing to do, but because God damn it, you've got to go because this is your interest. I don't care if you like Star Wars over Star Trek or vice versa. I don't care if you don't like Quantum Leap, but you liked Night Court type thing.
Yeah.
And let's face it, Night Court was a nerdy show.
It was indeed
awesome.
a nerdy show.
Freaking John Larroquette, and that was awesome. What have you.
Yeah.
But just using memes, knowing how to type a Triforce with Helvetica and everything like that, that stuff does not make you a nerd.
Just 90%
A nerd is a
don't
lifestyle.
know what the Triforce is.
Yeah. I mean, I know I'm a nerd because when I tell people, I've read every single book in the Chronicles of Pern, that I have Suzanne Cooper's full story arc from beginning to end of The Darkest Rising.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah.
I have Dragonlance books based off of Dragonlance. I have books based off of White Wolf.
Now, don't get us wrong. We're not here to judge your e-penis or make you feel less nerdy. If you are a nerd, you are a nerd. You
don't have to have all this stuff. But if you have to tell people, I'm such a nerd because, you're probably not. Because I don't tell people I'm a nerd. I will talk about stuff that I do and I like, and people will go, God, you're such a nerd. I go, yeah, you know what?
You're damn right I'm a nerd. You're damn right.
Now bag my groceries, you jock. And that's what irritates. My wife is not a nerd, but she's sure shit married to one.
You can say that we're a little bit agitated because we grew up in the time where nerds were outcasts.
Yeah.
And
I used to get made fun of for a bunch of reasons.
Yeah.
My love of rolling dice, for the sake of stats.
Yeah.
And my other interests like that.
Role-playing games like
Role-playing
Final
games,
Fantasy before it became
fairs.
Mainstream, Renaissance fairs, loving collecting swords. Everyone
collecting swords.
Why do you want to do that? Because they're beautiful. Like I said, I have a Legend of Zelda sword here. I have a Bankai of Ichigo's sword. I've got the reverse blade katana from Rurouni Kenshin, and stuff like that. Just stuff. And those are just collectibles. Those aren't. Yeah. Those aren't some of my more awesome collectibles, but that's just a few to name. It's just, and like I said, we're not here to question. Don't get it wrong. We're not here questioning your nerddom. It's just we're calling out all of the posers, all the people that I'm a nerd because of this, that, and the other thing. I'm a nerd because I know about whatever, but I didn't really care about this, that, and the other thing in high school. Now I understand people change. God bless change, but you hated that. You were a hater at one point.
Yep.
Think about that.
Yeah, this is our thing. You do not get to just come in and usurp and say I'm a nerd too. No, you like some nerdy things. You are not a nerd.
Go through our pain, bitches.
Yeah, you do not go out of your way to go to the Renaissance Fair. You do not go out of your way to go dressed up. You would not probably think about going to Comic-Con in cosplay.
Well, see, I've never been to Comic-Con, so I've
been once. It's a lot of fun. Let me tell you, there's some hot bitches up in there.
Oh, of course there are, but that's half the reason I want to go. But the other half is just because my nerddom is that's like the beacon where all nerds want to meet up sometime. It's like you remember Final Fantasy VII? They had the Resurrection or whatever that was called.
Yeah,
it's like that's what's going on. All of the clones want to go there and meet up.
Oh, the Gathering or whatever it's called.
I forget what it was called, but.
Yeah, clones of Sephiroth, or the everything with Geneva cells are trying to get back to Geneva, but since Sephiroth is overpowered, now this will tell you how much of a nerd is. I actually understand the Final Fantasy VII plotline.
Well, we've thought about it.
Yeah, because Sephiroth had such a higher will than Genova itself, he was actually able to use the parasitic organism of Genova to attract anybody who had Genova cells within them, which caused everybody to start to gather back to where Sephiroth was. Blah 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 blah. Story for another time, but it's like that.
Yeah, and it's like somewhere it's hardwired in you. You want to go. You want to go. And now a lot of people look at a convention and go, "That's just a bunch of sweaty nerds acting stupid." Yeah, well, you know what? Some of that is true, but at the same time, God damn it, I'm gonna be one of those sweaty nerds acting stupid and enjoying myself around some big boob chicks dressing like fucking, I don't know, name your character that you want.
Riku. Not Kingdom Hearts Riku.
No, I wouldn't doubt that would happen.
Final Fantasy 10 and 10
Sakura, I guess.
Oh yeah, Sakura.
Yeah, or name another slutty anime chick that you like to see naked.
Yeah, Rangiku.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, what was the one with big breasts from Final Fantasy X? Lulu. That's
Lulu?
what it was. Lulu. Yeah, everyone. I remember when that game came out. Everyone aped shit. Again, that's a story for another time. We'll go ahead and wrap this up with some final thoughts. But however, before we go into that, I want to tell you guys that if you have anything you want us to review and or talk about, feel free to bring it up.
Yeah, leave it down there in the comment section below.
We're not stuck up or anything. I'm all for wanting to, if it's something I've never heard about, even better.
Yeah, we'll check it out. It might not be right away. We'll probably use some of the comments in future episodes, things like that.
Yeah, and if your comment is magical enough, we will quote you and give you direct
response
and
what have you. So
mention your name and whatnot. So I want to thank you for listening. This is our first episode, so give us some feedback if you would. And as the great late Leonard Nimoy said,
Nanu.
I hate you.
Yeah, I know.
Live long and prosper, people.
Nanu.